From idol to luxury icon, is this really just a magazine cover? Or the silent transfer of power in global fashion? Is it really just another glossy cover? Another beautifully styled editorial destined to dominate social media timelines for a few days before the next trend arrives? Or is something far more significant unfolding right now, quietly but decisively, in the uppermost layers of the global fashion hierarchy? When Jungkook appears on the January 2026 cover of ELLE Korea, not once, not twice, but in 9 distinct versions, fans are no longer asking whether he looks good. They are asking something much more unsettling, much more provocative, and far more consequential for the future of luxury itself. Is this the moment power truly shifted from traditional fashion gatekeepers to global K-pop stars? Because this does not feel like a routine endorsement. It does not read like a simple collaboration. And it certainly does not move like a short-term campaign designed merely to sell magazines or fragrances. What the world is witnessing now looks increasingly like a transfer of cultural authority, one cover at a time. That on December 15, 2025, Seoul did not just wake up to another celebrity announcement. The city, and soon after, the global fashion ecosystem, was confronted with a visual statement that carried more weight than a runway show. Jungkook, widely known as BTS's Golden Magne, was officially unveiled as the cover star for ELLE Korea's January 2026 issue, marking his first major editorial shoot since being announced as a global ambassador for Chanel Beauty. 9 covers were released simultaneously, each one carefully composed, each one subtly different in mood, expression, and energy, yet all unmistakably centered around the same idea. Jungkook is no longer being presented as a guest in the fashion world. He is being framed as a figure who belongs at its core. ELLE Korea described him as an icon representing an era, a phrase that might sound poetic at first glance, but becomes far more loaded when placed within the broader context of luxury branding. Fashion magazines do not choose their words casually, especially when dealing with heritage houses whose identities are built on decades, sometimes centuries, of carefully guarded symbolism. To label a K-pop idol as the embodiment of an era is to suggest that the era itself has changed, and that its face no longer resembles the traditional models, actors, or aristocratic muses that once dominated these pages. The imagery itself deepens this interpretation. Jungkook appears in softly tailored beige Chanel suits, his silhouette clean, his posture composed, his movements captured with a balance of strength and restraint. Hoop earrings and bracelets subtly accentuate his natural masculinity without exaggeration. The minimalist white background strips away distractions, forcing the viewer to confront his expressions directly, from piercing intensity to a restrained, almost secretive smile. The visual language does not scream novelty. Instead, it whispers confidence, permanence, and authority. This is not a newcomer asking to be noticed. This is someone being positioned as inevitable, and yet, the most compelling question lingers beneath the surface. Why now, and why Jungkook? To understand why fans and industry observers alike believe this is more than a magazine cover, one must look beyond fashion and into the numbers, the timing, and the cultural momentum that Jungkook currently commands. Just weeks before the ELLE Korea announcement, he reached a historic milestone by becoming the first Korean solo artist to surpass 10 billion cumulative streams on Spotify. This achievement alone would have been enough to dominate headlines, but when paired with a high-fashion editorial aligned with Chanel's legacy, it creates a narrative that is impossible to ignore. Luxury fashion has always aligned itself with power, political, economic, or cultural. In earlier decades, that power was embodied by royalty, Hollywood stars, or elite socialites. Today, however, cultural power is increasingly measured in global reach, emotional loyalty, and digital influence. Jungkook does not simply have fans. He has a global community whose engagement transcends language, geography, and traditional consumer behavior. When he appears on a cover, it does not just circulate within fashion circles. It ripples across music platforms, social media ecosystems, and international news outlets simultaneously. In his exclusive interview with ELLE Korea, Jungkook's words further reinforce the idea that this collaboration is rooted in authenticity rather than performance. When asked about Chanel Beauty, He spoke candidly about his preference for Bleu de Chanel, emphasizing that it represents self-expression rather than forced masculinity. "It naturally highlights presence without excessive effort," he said, a statement that mirrors his broader public persona. Jungkook has never relied on exaggerated bravado. His appeal lies in sincerity, vulnerability, and quiet confidence, qualities that modern luxury brands increasingly seek as they attempt to connect with younger, more discerning audiences. This alignment between personal philosophy and brand identity is crucial. Fashion houses are no longer satisfied with ambassadors who merely wear their products. They want figures who embody their evolving values. Jungkook's approach to music offers a parallel. In the same interview, he reflected on what defines good music for him, emphasizing meaningful lyrics, timelessness, and emotional resonance over trends. "Of course, a song that simply sounds good is enough," he added, a statement that feels almost like a manifesto for both music and fashion in an era oversaturated with spectacle. At 28 years old, Jungkook stands at a unique intersection of youth and experience. He is young enough to represent the future, yet seasoned enough to command respect from industries that once dismissed K-pop as a fleeting phenomenon. His acknowledgement that his life moves in sync with those who listen to his music reveals a profound understanding of his role in contemporary culture. He does not see himself above his audience. He sees himself within them. This relational dynamic is precisely what traditional fashion power structures have struggled to replicate. The release strategy of the 9 ELLE covers further underscores the shift at play. Instead of presenting a single definitive image, ELLE Korea offers multiple interpretations of Jungkook, allowing fans to choose which version resonates most with them. This approach mirrors the participatory culture that defines K-pop fandoms, where audiences are not passive consumers, but active collaborators in shaping narratives. Luxury fashion, once rigid and hierarchical, is increasingly adopting this model, and Jungkook sits at its center. The immediate reaction speaks volumes. Within hours of ELLE Korea posting the covers on X, the images amassed tens of thousands of likes and reposts, igniting discussions that went far beyond styling or photography. Fans began framing the moment as historical, not because of aesthetics alone, but because of what it symbolized. Many openly questioned whether Jungkook had effectively transcended the role of brand ambassador and entered a space traditionally reserved for cultural architects. This speculation intensifies when viewed alongside Chanel's broader strategy. By aligning itself with Jungkook at this particular moment, Chanel is not simply borrowing his popularity. It is acknowledging a reality that the future of luxury visibility depends on figures who can command emotional investment on a global scale. Jungkook's presence does not dilute Chanel's heritage.